So this week we did a coordinated watching for The French Dispatch, the 2021, what would you call it, drama? Comedy drama by Wes Anderson.
I think it stinks! Get out of that wheelchair, I'm gonna kick your ass up and down this hobby room!
Features an ensemble cast.
You could say that, yeah.
Yeah. I guess before we dive into the cast, David, who are you most surprised to see in the movie?
I didn't know Willem Dafoe was in it, so when he appeared in like in a chicken coop, I was like, "Oh wait, it's Willem Dafoe in a chicken coop."
With this 1980s.
Like he has like curly hair, right? So he says like 3 words in his like scene, like barely says anything. He just sits in a chicken coop.
I guess for me, I was most surprised to see Henry Winkler.
Oh yeah.
Like when's the last time you saw him in anything?
He's the Fonz, right?
Fonz? Hey, yeah.
Yeah, he's the Fonz.
That. Yeah.
From like the 1970s. Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Well, was he in some stuff in the 90s? He showed up some stuff in the 90s, right?
Yeah, he was in Scream.
Oh,
he played like the high school principal in the first Scream movie. I don't know. Other than that, I can't think of anything.
I haven't.
It's just it's weird when you see him just pop up places.
He's still alive, that dude. That's
As of last year, yeah.
He didn't really look much older than he looks in Scream, I thought. But, to be honest, I don't know.
Just slightly more white, but that's about it.
Yeah. There's a crazy amount of actors in it. I guess we should go through them. So,
yeah, I have it here. So we got Bill Murray, of course.
Bill Murray has top billing, but he's really not in it a whole lot. He's just in like the connecting scenes, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for the story, he's an important character, but
yeah.
he's not really featured so much.
But he's like a star name because he makes so little these days that anything he's in, like, immediately gets top billing. So
he's kind of like legendary status when it comes to actors. Like,
right.
Apparently, he's always being sent like screenplays.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even like look at them. Like he'll get them and he just won't even look at them.
I can imagine like
he's very, very, very selective with the projects he partakes in.
I can imagine like Harrison Ford being the same way. Like he just pushes them off the desk into a massive trash can or something. Like every morning. Or he has a bonfire in his garden.
Apparently, it's really hard to even get in touch with Bill Murray. You have to like have some connections, like even for like the Hollywood insiders, like, even within that world, you need to have like even deeper connections to like get in touch with Bill Murray.
He's not ready to believe you then.
We're ready to believe you!
What is that? Is that a sticker?
This is a Ghostbusters coaster.
My first guess was going to be a coaster, but I thought, well, that's too outlandish. That could never be a coaster.
One member is missing. I'm not a white supremacist. He's missing because this video is taken before they add the other guy. But the commercial is very cool, I think, if you remember the original Ghostbusters. But anyway,
Gotcha.
Look. His telephone number is on this coaster, but you're saying you can't get in touch with him. So
You could always try giving her a call.
fuck you, Bill. Yeah, I'm a huge Bill Murray fan.
Anyway,
I love Bill Murray. So, like, if he's in something, like, I want to watch it. So, even this movie, I wasn't massively desperate to see it, but the fact that he was in it kind of tipped it into, okay, I'll watch it. Like, soon.
I was about to use the word tipping point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I looked into this movie, like just going by like the promotional poster and the title, I assumed it was like some weird documentary thing. I didn't realize it was like a feature film. I guess the aura it like puts out, I don't know. I just thought it was going to be something different. I'm glad it turned out to be what it was. But anyway, like after finding out Bill Murray was in it, that was kind of my tipping point as well.
Well, we also have
other actors.
Tilda Swinton,
who
Francis McDormand, and Jeffrey Wright, I guess, has a big role in this movie.
You said Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson's in it.
Adrian.
Yep.
Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody.
And
Del Toro. Benicio del Toro.
Yeah. We got.
Now we got onto the
Schwartzman.
Oh yeah, he has a very small role in it, right? He's the illustrator, I think, for the magazine.
It's crazy. Like while I was watching the movie, like I heard his voice. Like he did like a voiceover for something for like one scene. I heard his voice and I instantly knew it was him because he has a unique voice. But I never noticed him in the movie.
I noticed him. Yeah, he's the illustrator.
Okay.
He turns around like once and speaks to the camera, so.
I may have just literally like missed it. Maybe
he's like a blink and miss it role. Yeah. I once listened to a podcast with him, the Nerdist podcast. Do you know that one? He does the Walking Dead after show chat show, the Talking Dead, I think it's called.
Chris Hardwick,
yeah. And I listened to an interview. I think it was with Jason Schwartzman, and Jason Schwartzman went to the same high school as Jake Gyllenhaal. He was basically complaining on the podcast that no guys could get girlfriends in that high school because they just all went for Jake Gyllenhaal. He was like,
in preparation for this podcast, I did a little research on Jason Schwartzman. Apparently, he's from the Coppola family.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He's related to Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah.
Yeah, he's his nephew.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And do you know who else is a nephew of Francis Ford Coppola? Nicolas Cage.
And you have to do it. You have to, or I'll fire you. Do you understand?
Is he really? Well.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's like a Hollywood conspiracy.
Nicolas Cage just keeps getting more and more badass, like the more you find out about it. It's like a bottomless pit of awesomeness.
Yeah.
Timothée Chalamet is in this, the actor from Dune.
Oh yeah, I thought he looked familiar. He is from Dune.
He's also in Don't Look Up, that Netflix thing that came out.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
But I guess Dune is now what he's most famous for.
Frances McDormand as well.
Frances McDormand. Fargo, right? And 3 Billboards. Nomadland, but she's in so many things.
Probably other than Henry Winkler, the other person that really surprised me to see was Edward Norton.
He's in a lot of Wes Anderson. He pops up in Wes Anderson movies, right? Like Moonrise Kingdom.
Holy crap, I totally forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah.
Also, Christoph Waltz, too. Very briefly.
Oh, he's in it. Yeah, that's right.
Then Angelica Houston was the narrator for the movie, so she never appeared, but it was her voice.
We also had, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Léa Seydoux. She is Benicio del Toro's prison guard in the movie. She appears like naked quite a lot. Right? She's like his model. And she is James Bond's girlfriend in the new Bond movie, No Time to Die.
Huh. I still haven't seen that yet. Unfortunately, it was spoiled for me, so I already know kind of what happens. We can just keep it at that.
And also, Matthew, do you know Matthew Almeric? He is the boy who gets kidnapked's father, the French dude. The dude who speaks French a lot. He's like one of the only characters that speaks French in the whole movie, aside from Benicio del Toro's guard.
Oh, okay, yes.
He's a French actor, and I know him from a movie called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Heard of that movie?
No, I have not.
It's quite a cool movie. It's basically about a guy. It's a true story. It's about a guy who had a stroke, when he was like out driving his son, and he was like a famous fashion designer in France, and he was completely paralyzed except for one eyelid. He learns how to communicate via one eyelid, and he like wrote an
It's a
entire...
very interesting premise for a movie.
It's a true story. This actually happened to a guy. And he wrote like a whole novel about his life, I think, or he wrote some books using just one eyelid to communicate.
Holy crap.
Yeah, like really detailed feelings and emotions, like an actual novel and a book about his life.
Using like what, like Morse code or
Something like that, yeah. Like, so he had to blink certain times for each word, so he learnt like every word in the dictionary with a certain number of blinks or something. So,
jeez.
I think I get like half a page through like one page in the dictionary and just give up, say fuck this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would just resign myself to a life of watching TV. No guess.
It actually won the best director at Cannes, that movie. The Cannes Film Festival. It's quite a cool movie. It's like very trippy in places. Like you have like when it first happened, so it's kind of shot from his perspective, so it's him like panicking and all like the colours going in his eyes as his eyes readjust. And yeah, it's a cool movie. I recommend it if you have a chance to see it. Yeah, he's in this.
Anyway, this movie, French Dispatch, in my opinion, this movie feels probably more so than others. It feels like a passion project for Wes Anderson. More than his other movies. It feels like he probably made it for himself. You know, I just get that feeling. Less accessible than
I would say so.
Most of his other movies.
Yeah. I watched it with my wife, and she was like, because I'd watched a couple of other Wes Anderson movies with her, she was adamant that she'd already seen it.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, well, you kind of have if you've seen some of his other movies, to be honest with you. Well, basically the story is kind of put into chapters, right? Like it's like cut up in like terms of the magazine, the order of the magazine. So
right. So the movie is about it's about a magazine
in France
from like Kansas City or something like that, or Missouri, Missouri.
Yeah.
That has a like France-based branch that does like like reporting on, you know, things in France, but I guess.
They don't do like just daily news. They do like very detailed investigatory stories on art or politics or social movements in France, I guess.
It makes me think like if you were to take the New Yorker and like put it in France.
Yeah, the structure of the movie is like you occasionally go back to the office, which is run by Bill Murray, and he's like proofreading these stories, and the movie consists of like 3 main stories, I think. Am I right? Was it 3?
There's the prologue.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the obituary? I don't know. It's like the prologue story is where you find out that the owner of the magazine had died.
Yeah.
And he says, like in his will, I guess, once I die, operations for this magazine will cease, and like one final issue will be put out. Something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
then it moves on to like the first chapter, I guess.
I think before that we're introduced to the city, right? They kind of introduced to the
city. By Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson,
yeah,
like,
on his bicycle,
like cycling into the subway suddenly. Or something.
The dangerous accidents, the constant traffic, the high.
Yeah.
He's like talking to the camera and holding a truck, and he just like disappears off the screen. or he gets like chased by small violent children around the city. But he's introducing like this city has like different quarters, so areas where elderly people live, areas where prostitutes are plenty, and he introduces like all the social layers of the city, I guess.
I gotta say, I think the writing in this movie is pretty good. Like, it had me laughing out loud more than most like straight up comedy movies do.
Yeah, I did find this one of his funnier ones, actually. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The first story is the arts and entertainment segment.
Yep.
Which is mostly described to us by Tilda Swinton's character, who's like a art critic.
Awesome character. Art critic or like museum curator kind of person.
Curator? Yeah.
Something like that.
And it turns out she curates an art museum in Kansas as well, I think. And they're displaying the work by Benicio del Toro's character, who's like a very eccentric artist who's also a prison inmate.
Right.
He's in prison for accidentally killing 2 people. He decapitated them with a machete or something. Just
according to him, one was by accident and one was self-defense.
Right, yeah. And basically Adrian Brody's character is like a art dealer. He goes to the prison because they have like an arts and crafts club, circle, something like that. And all the other inmates are made like these really like dumb things like origami or like wicker baskets or something. And Benicio del Toro is painted like a modern art kind of painting.
Yeah.
Not pretentious, but playing on the pretentious crowd to make money, like looking for the next big thing to sell. Art dealer Adrian Brody can't pay him immediately, so he offers him like 3 cigarettes and something for the painting.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, like a couple of coins and a couple of cigarettes.
Right, like some shoelaces or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, shoelaces too.
I think Adrian Brody might be my favourite character in this movie. I thought he was hilarious, actually.
He might be mine as well. In general, this first story was my favorite of the 3 in the movie.
Mine too, yeah.
Yeah. I thought Adrian Brody was great. And I also thought Del Toro and the female guard, like his love interest, I guess, his art subject / love interest.
She's his
she was good.
Love interest, but like she completely rejects him. Basically, she's like, "I'm never going to marry you. Stop talking to me about that."
Yeah, she flips the switch on him too.
He like straps himself into an electric chair because he's like, I just can't do it anymore. It's too painful. I can't be asked making paintings anymore. But then when she gives him a jolt, he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that, actually." Yeah, I think that was my favourite segment too. It's, a lot of people, I think of Wes Anderson as kind of a pretentious director, right? He does kind of get that image from some people, but that whole segment is kind of him taking the piss out of pretentious art critics, because basically this segment is about how he wants Benicio del Toro to paint like more masterpieces so he can sell them. Like Benicio del Toro is like an investment for Adrian Brody. Yeah. And he's waiting like, is it like a year or 2 years for him to paint something new?
I think it was 3 years.
3?
Yeah. And then he kind of asks for an additional 1 year.
Like when they come to see the work. Yeah. It's like, can you give me 1 more year? And when they actually get inside and see his work, he's made a fresco. So he's painted all his paintings on like the prison wall.
Yeah. Which obviously pisses off Adrian Brody,
But
because
at first,
he wanted to capitalize on that.
but first Adrian Brody is like, it's marvellous, it's wonderful, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then he realises it's painted on the wall. He's like, this is a bunch of shit. This is a bunch of pretentious crap. I can't sell this. So it's like mocking like how the art world says it's for art, but really it's just another business, basically. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite cool.
I thought it was a charming story.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the I thought the art curator character too, by Tilda Swinton, she was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because like her whole character, like all of her scenes were, she was like on a stage in front of like a podium or something, like speaking to like an art crowd, like giving what like a
Yeah, she's doing
presentation.
like a lecture on him. Yeah.
Yeah, and she'll like speak very, you know, like in depth on the topic, but then she'll have like these little asides where she like kind of like casually says her like real thoughts.
At one point,
There's like a scene.
she realizes that she left like a naked picture of herself in the slides. And isn't there one when she goes like, "Okay, stop. I need my drink," and she goes under and like comes up with a glass of scotch or something. It's time for my drink.
Yeah.
I think it's quite an accurate portrayal of like a very like hoity-toity art lecturer kind of professor.
Hoity-toity is a
eccentric kind of person.
yeah.
Right.
I think that's a good word for it. Hoity-toity.
I guess we should move on to the next segment, the next story.
Yeah, so the next one was, for me, it was the weakest of the three. It was focused on like a revolutionary group of like university students.
Right, yeah. Like
Right. Like
rebellious.
writing like a manifesto or something.
Yeah. So the manifesto is being written by Timothy Chalamet, but really Francis McDormand writes the manifesto. He can't really do it, he's just a kid.
I like to buy these sunglasses.
Yeah, this one I had a little trouble like staying interested in it, to be honest. Like lost my
Me
interest a
too.
little bit.
To be honest,
Last one.
during that story, I paused it and I went off and did something else, and I came back and finished it.
Yeah, I got through it, but I found it a little bit hard to get through, to be honest. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't find any enjoyment in that segment of the movie.
It wasn't that funny. It wasn't as funny as the Benicio del Toro one.
Right. The first one, it was funny. It was charming.
Yeah. It had some like I like the like dark humor of the first one as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like quite cutting like attacks on the art industry, but this one seemed to have less to say, to be honest. It's just like
I thought so too.
High school kids in France are immature douchebags. Yeah, we know. Yeah. It's like
Right.
they're too young to know any better, you know. I kind of liked how it was shot in a few places. Like, I thought Timothy Chalamet was quite good. He's obviously quite a talented actor. He's like a very striking look about him. I found his love interest, like the girl who wears the bicycle helmet, a little bit annoying, to be honest. I don't know if she's supposed to be annoying, I guess.
I think that was by design.
By design, yeah. But the whole thing just didn't really relate to me, to be honest. It didn't really pull me in that much.
Yeah, me too. I think if the entire movie were that story, I would give this movie a hard pass.
Would you even finish it if it was like that? Like an hour and 45 minutes of that? Like...
It would depend. If I had stuff to do, I probably wouldn't finish it. Speaking of movies that I didn't finish, oh man, should I go down this tangent now or should I save it for later? I guess I'll tell you later.
That could be a whole podcast, movies we didn't finish.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I am usually apt to not give up on movies. Like I finished 95% of movies that I watch, even if I'm like zero interested in them halfway through.
Me too. Yeah. For
Kinda
me,
just so I
like
can tick them off.
at least 95%.
Just so I can like.
I
say
usually
I've seen it.
I try to watch everything like, all the way through, just to
Yeah.
give it a fair shake.
I guess we should talk about the last segment, which was pretty good actually. This had some good moments in it.
So the last one, it's like billed as a food review or something, like food column.
Yeah, it's Jeffrey Wright's column. He's the writer, but he's also in the story, so it's like investigative journalism, I guess. And he's not a food critic, but he writes a lot about food. I think that's how it's said.
So the story is like titled, or like it's like put under like a food related section, but it has really. Well, I guess it does have something to do with food, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not the main point.
The food part comes from the chef, like the family chef, and like how they recover the boy in the section, I guess.
The boy. What an awesome character, that boy.
He's pretty cool, huh? That boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Like his little Scout Boy shorts that he's wearing.
His little scraggly tooth.
He wears like tiny shorts in like the middle of winter as well. It's like heavily snowing outside and he's wearing shorts. Yeah. He's like a mini Poirot or something, right?
I think Japanese schoolboys are like that too. Like
a French Conan, right? Like anime character.
Oh, I was thinking like Conan O'Brien for a second.
Not Conan O'Brien. Well, I guess the segment is about Jeffrey Wright's character, and he goes to like the police chief's house he's like a police chief, right? Head of police, played by Matthew Almeric. He has like a private chef who's like a very famous, renowned chef. And while they're having dinner, his son, who's like his protege, he's like grooming or raising him to be like the next super police detective. And he's kidnapped by Edward Norton's group. I didn't really it kind of went over my head, like, why they kidnapped the boy?
I didn't really catch that either.
For money? They all dress in like black. They seem like a terrorist group or something like that, right?
I assumed it was like some extreme ideology kind of group, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, they kidnap the boy, and to get the boy back, they decide to use the famous chef to like poison some food and then give them the food. It's kind of the boy's idea, right? Like he calls up and says that he needs some of his dad's chef's food or something.
Yes, so the boy being like the prodigy that he is, he's like locked up in a broom closet, but he has a coin and he starts like tapping on a pipe and he types
he knows Morse code, that's it, right?
Yeah, he knows Morse code and he types out something, not SOS, but he types out like food or I'm hungry or something like that.
And I need this dish or something. Only his dad's like super chef, like Michelin star chef can make. I guess it ends with a car chase that turns into like an animation, because like the car chase becomes increasingly crazy, like what they're doing. It's like jumping.
There's like a point where like they're in the car and they get out and they like go around and then they get back in the car.
Yeah, that's right. Edward Norton like jumps out of the car and he's like carrying the boy. Edward Norton's driving. And he like runs like through this sewage thing over like these fences.
At that point, like when they're on foot, it kind of looks like an old like Super Nintendo like platforming video game.
It does. Yeah.
I thought that was very, very interesting. Wes Anderson has been doing several movies with those little animation segments in them recently. Like Isle of Dogs had that as well.
Really? Yeah.
Where it would like randomly cut into like 2D animation for some sections.
Seems to be a thing, right? Like Mandy has some animated sections in it, right? The Nicolas Cage movie has.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, is that a way just to save a few bucks instead of doing like expensive special effects? Just have an animated section.
I think if done poorly, it will very easily come off in that way.
Yeah,
like they couldn't afford someone to do like 3D renders in Blender, so they just did like a flash animation. But I think if done with love, with the best intentions in mind, I guess I think it can come off.
I felt like it worked in this
endearing one. Yeah, I thought so too.
For me it was kind of seamless and it looked really nice. Actually kind of looks like
it wouldn't work in every
poster,
movie
actually. No.
Yeah,
I thought it matched this movie's like aesthetics or style, to be honest. So
yeah. It did kind of surprise me when it first happened, but I quickly accepted it.
Yeah, and it ends with them rescuing the boy, and like, doesn't Edward Norton just like his car just goes off like a cliff or something, explode?
It's something like that, I guess.
And then at the end, we see Bill Murray's dead, right, in his office, and that's the end of the magazine, but not the end of the magazine.
Just before that, like before the ending of that chapter or that story, you see the writer of the magazine that reported on that incident talking with the Bill Murray character, and Bill Murray is saying like he doesn't like it. It doesn't have anything to do with food. and then the writer character says like, well, actually, there was this one line, but I cut it out because it was too sad. And Bill Murray's like, okay, what was the line? I want to read it. So the line was like afterwards, the chef that went into the house that like gave the poison. He had the poison himself, right? Yeah. But he survived. Afterwards, what the chef said was how it's such a rare thing these days to try a taste that I've never tasted before. And he's referring to like the cyanide or whatever, the poison that he put into the food.
Yeah, he's on like his deathbed, right? He's on like a hospital table, and he's like, yeah. He was like, it's not bitter and it's not sweet. I can't quite put my finger on the taste.
It's like that point that he's focusing. Yeah, just makes you think like if you're like a professional food critic, like will you inevitably get to that point where like nothing satisfies you anymore? Nothing stimulates you.
You're gonna have the peanut butter soup with smoked duck and mashed squash. New York Matinee called it a playful but mysterious little dish. You'll love it. Yeah, that was quite cool, actually. Yeah, I forgot about that moment. Yeah, and I guess the film ends, with Bill Murray passes away, and they're all in the office. But it seems like the magazine is gonna continue, right? They seem to start like planning the next issue of the magazine. That's the point where I noticed Jason Schwartzman.
Okay. I guess I looked away briefly during that part.
And I like how in Bill Murray's office he has above the door, no crying.
He says that several times in the movie.
He does, yeah.
No
he
crying.
has it written in his office on the wall.
Yeah. I like how like he says it, no crying, and then like the camera pans up.
Like classic Wes Anderson, like one swift movement. I think like one of them starts to cry because Bill Murray's dead body is there, and one of the other members of the staff go like, no crying, like, so almost like respect his life, like how he would have wanted it,
Yeah.
Where would you put this in like Wes Anderson's filmography?
Oh, that's tough. Somewhere in the middle, I think.
I was thinking the same. Yeah, this one is very so Wes Anderson. It's not like Tim Burton parodying himself like he's doing now, but it's kind of getting there. I think it's super Wes Anderson.
Overall, I enjoyed watching it, and I'm glad I watched it. But I think that he primarily made this movie for himself.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of like his love letter to journalism, I guess, like a certain level of journalism. But it's also a love letter to himself. You're right, I think. Yeah.
We never talked about the aspect ratio either.
Oh, most of the movie is 4:3, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a couple of scenes when it does go widescreen.
Also, like, it spends a lot of time in black and white, and occasionally it goes into color. I'd say it's a love letter to, like, journalism and also maybe French cinema.
Yeah, I'd put it somewhere in the middle, I think. A fair few of them I preferred to this movie, and like I have no desire to watch it again, like, at all. Like, once is enough. I'm kind of a one and done with this movie.
Yeah.
I think I'd find it quite hard to get through one more time.
Air bubbles in the radiator pipes. It's pressurized.
Sounds like Morse code.
Vaguely, maybe.